Have you ever stopped to wonder why, in today's world, so many men are rising to new heights of success, building stronger minds and bodies, finding genuine peace in their lives, while a growing number of women seem to be facing increasing challenges in their personal and financial well being? It is not just a random trend, but a direct result of the very different kinds of content and influences that men and women are choosing to surround themselves with every single day. And by the end of this video, you will see exactly how this divide is widening, why it is creating profound shifts in relationships and society, and what it truly means for the future of both men and women. So stay with me all the way through because the insights toward the end will change how you view everything around you. If you enjoy hard hitting, no nonsense content like this from the angry guy, then do me a huge favor right now and hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, subscribe to the channel, and most importantly, click the notification bell and select all so you get notified the moment we drop every new video and never miss out on the truth we bring here. Also, if you are serious about taking control of your financial future in these uncertain times, head over to Angry's Crypto Academy, where you can learn step by step how to properly buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency, how to protect your assets from risks, and how to grow your wealth the smart way. The link is right there in the description below. So pause for a second and go check it out today because knowledge like that can make all the difference. And if these angry guy videos are hitting home for you, if they are giving you that clarity and motivation you have been looking for, then show some real support by buying me a Red Bull through the link in the description. It keeps the energy high and the content coming strong. So thank you in advance for that. Now let us dive straight into the heart of what is happening out there because women are starting to wake up to a very clear and undeniable pattern that has been building for years. As men across the globe consume more and more content focused on genuine self improvement, on becoming the absolute best versions of themselves, on earning more income, discovering their true purpose in life, acquiring valuable new skills, learning how to embrace and thrive in their own company, releasing old resentments and negative emotions that hold them back, prioritizing their mental health alongside their physical fitness, committing to the gym, eating better, organizing their lives, cleaning up their environments, and truly elevating every aspect of who they are, something very different is happening on the other side. Women, in far too many cases, are immersing themselves in content that revolves around criticism of men, assigning blame to men for virtually every challenge they face, framing women as perpetual victims in every scenario, pushing forms of forced optimism that ignore reality, encouraging the idea that desires can simply be manifested into existence without consistent effort or action, and overall, keeping many women trapped in cycles of unrealistic expectations and self deception. And now, more women than ever are beginning to recognize just how harmful this environment truly is, how it damages their mental resilience, their ability to grow, and their overall quality of life. And this realization is shining a bright light on why men are increasingly outperforming women in key areas of society, why men are finding ways to prosper even in tough economic conditions, while many women are facing greater struggles to maintain stability, dealing with heightened financial pressures and emotional difficulties that seem to compound over time. Think about the difference in how feedback and truth are handled in these two worlds, because it reveals so much about the outcomes we are seeing today. Men will often have direct conversations with their close friends where honesty flows freely. For example, if a man is carrying extra weight that is affecting his health and energy, a true friend might pull him aside and say straightforwardly that he needs to address it, that he is putting on too much fat, and it is time to hit the gym seriously. And rather than taking deep offense or shutting down, most men in that position will listen, reflect, and take action, heading to the weights, changing their habits, and transforming themselves because they value that kind of real talk that pushes them forward. On the women's side, however, the dynamic is often completely reversed in a way that avoids discomfort at all costs, where a woman who is significantly overweight to the point where it impacts her mobility and long term health might hear from her friends that she is perfect just as she is, that she is a perfect 10, that her body is beautiful no matter what, even as the reality of her choices is leading her towards serious health risks and reduced quality of life. This pattern of constant affirmation without constructive guidance has become so ingrained that it prevents real progress. It shields people from the very truths that could motivate change. And over time, it creates an environment where egos grow unchecked. Accountability becomes rare. And many women end up spending large portions of their lives in states of denial about what is truly required to build a fulfilling and sustainable future. This toxicity is not just affecting individual women, it is spreading and influencing entire circles because when honesty is replaced with endless validation, the whole group suffers. Women end up unintentionally holding each other back, reinforcing habits and mindsets that lead to stagnation rather than growth, and all because the priority is placed on protecting feelings in the moment rather than building strength for the long term. Women have reached a point where many actively prefer comforting lies over uncomfortable truths, where they want those around them to affirm illusions rather than challenge them to rise higher. And this cultural shift has profound consequences that are now impossible to ignore. Ultimately, this is leading to a major turning point in how men and women relate to each other because men, after years of consuming content that emphasizes personal responsibility, discipline, and inner peace, are increasingly choosing to step away from traditional dating and relationships altogether. They are done investing energy into dynamics that feel unbalanced or draining, and they are finding that life on their own terms brings a level of calm and fulfillment they never experienced before. After decades of societal messages promoting independence for women, encouraging them to prioritize careers and self sufficiency, while often portraying traditional male roles as outdated or unnecessary, and sometimes even punishing men simply for being men, for having natural drives and expectations, men have taken those messages seriously. They have listened, they have walked away, and in doing so, they have discovered profound peace in focusing on themselves, their goals, and their brotherhoods. But here's where the story takes a critical turn. Because while men are proving that they can thrive in solitude, building empires, strengthening their bodies and minds, and creating lives of purpose without needing constant external validation, many women are finding that long term independence without the support and partnership of a committed man is far more challenging than they anticipated. Not because women are incapable, but because human relationships have historically provided mutual benefits, protection, provision, emotional stability, and shared growth that enhance life for both sides. Women were designed, in a biological and social sense, to benefit greatly from the stability and strength that a dedicated husband brings, just as men benefit from the nurturing and companionship of a dedicated wife. But in the pursuit of complete autonomy, many traded that traditional partnership for reliance on systems and structures outside the family. And now, as economic realities shift and those external supports face their own strains, there's a growing desire among some women to return to those partnerships. But men, having found peace and success on their own, are no longer willing to sacrifice that hard earned tranquility for relationships that demand more than they offer in return. This time around, women are truly going to have to navigate these challenges on their own terms because men have moved forward. They have embraced the lessons of self reliance and they are not looking back. Let us explore this further by looking at a powerful example that recently surfaced online, where a woman herself pointed out this exact divide in the content men and women consume. And her observations were so spot on that they sparked widespread discussion. She explained that there is a huge disconnect happening between men and women right now, and the reason men seem to be getting better while many women are struggling more comes down to the influences they are exposing themselves to daily. Men are listening to voices that teach discipline through platforms and figures that hold them accountable. that push mental toughness and responsibility, content that forces men to confront reality and build themselves up from the inside out. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. Women, on the other hand, are often surrounded by entertainment and influencers that amplify drama, encourage entitlement, and promote shortcuts that tie value to appearance or manipulation rather than genuine character or skills. She highlighted specific examples, noting how men have access to motivational voices emphasizing hard work and growth, while women's media landscape is filled with shows and podcasts that celebrate chaos, quick fixes, and external blame. And the creator reacting to her clip agreed wholeheartedly, saying she hit the nail on the head because men are wired to respond to challenges, to seek out truth, even when it stings, whereas the bar for women has been lowered to the point where simply existing is often enough to receive attention and resources, which removes the incentive to strive for more. This is not about diminishing anyone's worth. It is about recognizing that when one group is constantly pushed to improve and the other is told improvement is optional, the results will naturally diverge over time. Men are embracing content that reminds them the world does not owe them anything, that success comes from effort and accountability, while too much women's content suggests waiting for rewards to arrive or finding ways to gain without giving equivalent value. Consider the rise of certain online trends that promise fast money through platforms focused on appearance alone, leading to situations where individuals earn substantial incomes but then struggle to form meaningful connections because the foundation was not built on mutual respect or shared growth. Or think about the extremes, that develop when expectations become unrealistic on both sides, where demands are made without matching contributions. The truth is that men are leveling up in finances, physique, mindset, and purpose because they are consuming material that demands it. And as they do, they become more attractive not just to women, but to opportunities in general, creating a positive cycle of growth. But this leveling up often makes others nervous because it highlights gaps. It shows what is possible with dedication, and it can trigger insecurity in those who have not put in the same work. One powerful voice in this space shared a story about why improving yourself can create tension in relationships, explaining that when a man starts elevating his life, his partner might sense that he now deserves better options, that his increased value will open new doors, and that fear can manifest as control or jealousy. He used relatable analogies like comparing personal growth to sharpening skills in isolation versus relying on a team, where true ability is tested when you stand alone. And he encouraged men to prioritize their purpose over chasing validation from others, to fix their credit, build their bodies, and live life on their own terms, because at the end of the day, it is your life, not anyone else's. He shared personal examples of going out alone, dressing sharply, traveling solo to build confidence, and cutting ties that hold progress back, emphasizing that sacrifice is temporary, but regret is permanent. These stories resonate because they are rooted in real experiences, like traveling to new countries without knowing the language and coming back stronger, or committing to the gym consistently and seeing how it transforms not just the body, but the entire outlook on life. Men are learning to embrace solitude as a strength, to go to events alone, to handle situations independently. And in doing so, they develop resilience that carries over into every area. This is the red pill reality in action, not about bitterness, but about empowerment through truth. And as more men adopt it, the divide grows clearer. As the shift continues to unfold, more voices are emerging to point out the consequences of these differing paths. with creators emphasizing that when men commit to real improvement, they not only change their own lives, but also redefine what they are willing to accept in partnerships. One influential figure broke it down clearly, stating that the moment a man starts earning more, training consistently, dressing better, and carrying himself with genuine confidence, the dynamics around him shift dramatically because his value in every sense increases. And with that comes options, choices that were not available before. And this new reality can create unease in existing relationships where one partner has not matched that growth. He explained that jealousy often stems from knowing deep down that the elevated man now has access to better opportunities, not just romantically, but professionally and socially. And instead of rising to meet that level, some respond by trying to pull him back down or control the situation. But men who have tasted true progress refuse to regress. They understand that compromising their peace for someone else's comfort is no longer an option. This is why so many men are choosing solitude over settling, because they have learned through experience and through the content they consume that being alone is far better than being in a connection that drains energy, creates constant conflict, or demands they dim their light to make others feel secure. Story after story illustrates this truth in vivid detail, like the man who decided to focus entirely on his business and fitness for a full year, cutting out distractions, avoiding dating altogether, and emerging on the other side with a physique that turned heads, a bank account that provided freedom, and a mindset that attracted respect from everyone around him, only to find that women who previously showed little interest were suddenly very attentive. But by then, his standards had risen proportionally, and he realized that genuine attraction built on shared values and mutual effort was rare compared to the interest driven purely by the results of his hard work. These experiences are shared widely in men's spaces, reinforcing the message that investing in yourself first pays dividends that no relationship can match if it is not built on equal footing. And this reinforcement creates a feedback loop where men encourage each other to keep grinding, to keep building, because the rewards are tangible and lasting. Compare that to environments where the focus is on external validation through social media metrics or temporary attention, where the highs are fleeting and the lows are deep because the foundation is not internal strength, but outside approval. And you begin to see why one group is pulling ahead while the other struggles to maintain momentum. Another layer to this conversation is how economic pressures are amplifying these differences, because in times of financial strain, the habits and mindsets cultivated over years become the deciding factor between thriving and merely surviving. Men who have spent time learning financial discipline, side hustles, investment strategies, and skill development are now in positions to weather storms, to create multiple income streams, to live below their means while building wealth quietly. Whereas those who relied on consistent affirmation without corresponding action find themselves vulnerable when external supports weaken. This is not about assigning blame, but about observing outcomes, because when one side is taught to confront reality head on and the other is shielded from it, the gap in preparedness widens predictably. Women are now voicing frustration about the lack of available men who meet their expectations. But many of these expectations were formed in an environment that did not emphasize the reciprocal effort required to attract and retain high value partners, leading to a mismatch where demands are high, but the willingness to match that value is low. Consider the countless discussions online where women express confusion about why quality men seem scarce, while simultaneously consuming content that portrays men as disposable or inherently flawed, creating a self fulfilling cycle where resentment builds on both sides. Men hear these messages loud and clear. They see the double standards, the lack of accountability, the entitlement that often accompanies modern dating, and they respond by opting out entirely, choosing peace over chaos, choosing brotherhood and personal goals over negotiations that feel rigged from the start. This movement is not born from hatred, but from exhaustion, from decades of being told their natural roles are toxic, their desires are problematic, their presence is optional. And now that they have taken society at its word and stepped back, the consequences are becoming visible to everyone. Women who once celebrated independence are now grappling with the full weight of it, discovering that paying every bill alone, handling every decision alone, facing every challenge without a strong partner is far more taxing than anticipated, especially when children or long term planning enter the picture. The biological realities cannot be ignored in this discussion either, because human beings evolved with complementary strengths, where men provided protection and resources, while women offered nurturing and emotional bonding, creating families that were resilient and interdependent. But when that balance is disrupted on a societal scale, both sides feel the impact eventually. Men have adapted by channeling their protective and providership instincts inward and toward their immediate circles of trusted brothers, building networks of support that do not require romantic entanglement, while many women find that the state or corporate structures they turn to as replacements cannot replicate the personal investment and commitment of a dedicated man. As government resources face increasing strain and economic instability grows, the illusion of endless external provision crumbles, leaving a void that individualism alone struggles to fill. This is the moment where reality asserts itself most forcefully, where the consequences of cultural directions become undeniable, and where choices made years ago and echo loudly in the present. Looking deeper into specific examples that have gone viral, one woman recorded herself admitting that her circle of friends constantly complains about men, blames men for every shortfall in their lives, and yet wonders why they remain single or in unhealthy situations, acknowledging that the constant negativity repels quality partners and attracts only those willing to tolerate drama. She went on to say that until women start holding themselves and each other to higher standards, until they prioritize personal growth over victim narratives, the situation will not improve. And her honesty struck a chord because it came from within the group most affected. Similarly, other female creators are speaking up about the damage caused by influencers who profit from keeping audiences angry and entitled, selling courses on manifestation while ignoring the necessity of action, discipline, and resilience. And these voices represent a growing awakening that the current path is unsustainable. Men, meanwhile, continue to share testimonies of transformation that inspire millions. Stories of overcoming depression through structure and purpose, of building businesses from nothing through consistent effort, of healing old wounds by facing them directly rather than suppressing them. And these stories spread because they offer hope grounded in reality, not fantasy. One creator described his journey from being overweight, in debt, and directionless to becoming financially secure, physically strong, and mentally clear, all by following simple but demanding principles like early mornings, hard workouts, strict budgets, and continuous learning. And he emphasized that none of it required luck or privilege, just commitment over time. These narratives dominate men's content spaces because they work. They produce results that others can replicate, and they foster a culture of elevation rather than stagnation. This contrast becomes even starker when examining dating outcomes, where men who have leveled up report abundant options but heightened selectivity, choosing quality over quantity, while many women report frustration with the quality of attention they receive, often from men who have not invested in themselves or from situations that lack commitment. The irony is palpable because the very behaviors encouraged in certain women's spaces, like high demands without corresponding value, push away the men most capable of meeting those demands, leaving a pool that reflects the energy invested. High value men recognize this quickly and withdraw, preserving their resources for themselves and their missions, understanding that time and energy are finite and must be guarded fiercely. As we move further into this new reality, the conversation shifts toward what comes next, with some predicting a continued widening of the gap until a critical mass of women chooses different influences, different habits, different priorities, while others believe the divide will prompt a return to more traditional dynamics out of necessity. But regardless of predictions, the present moment offers clarity for anyone willing to observe it objectively, showing that personal responsibility and honest growth lead to strength and peace, while avoidance and external blame lead to fragility and discontent. Men have embraced the former on a massive scale, finding fulfillment in their independence, and women now face a choice to either join in that pursuit of excellence or continue on a path that has shown diminishing returns. The beauty of this awakening is that it is never too late to change direction, to seek out better influences, to prioritize health and skills, to build real confidence through achievement rather than affirmation. But it requires acknowledging uncomfortable truths first, something men have been trained to do through the content they consume. When that acknowledgement happens on a wider scale, bridges can be rebuilt, mutual respect can return, and partnerships can form on foundations of shared growth rather than unbalanced expectations. Until then, men will continue walking their path of purpose and peace, encouraging each other to stay focused, to keep improving, and to protect the tranquility they have earned. This entire phenomenon serves as a powerful lesson in cause and effect, in how the information we consume shapes our beliefs, our actions, and ultimately our outcomes. And it challenges everyone to examine their own feeds, their own circles, their own habits with brutal honesty. Are you surrounding yourself with voices that push you toward greatness or ones that keep you comfortable in mediocrity? Are you building skills and strength or waiting for circumstances to change? The answers to these questions determine trajectory more than any external factor. And in a world full of noise, choosing the right inputs becomes the ultimate advantage. To fully grasp the depth of this transformation, let us consider the historical context that led us here, because understanding the timeline reveals how gradual shifts accumulated into the profound divide we witness today. For generations, societal structures revolved around complementary roles where men and women built lives together, sharing burdens and rewards in ways that leveraged each other's strengths, creating stable families, communities, and economies that endured challenges through mutual support. Men focused on provision and protection, often sacrificing personal comfort for the greater good of their households, while women managed the home front, nurturing children and maintaining the emotional foundation that allowed men to push forward in harsh external worlds. This was not perfect by any means, with imbalances and injustices on both sides, but it provided a framework where interdependence fostered resilience and purpose for everyone involved. Then came waves of cultural change, starting in the mid 20th century, that rightfully addressed inequalities, granting women greater freedoms, education, careers, and autonomy, which opened doors and empowered millions to pursue dreams previously out of reach. These advancements were necessary and positive in many ways, breaking down barriers and expanding opportunities. But over time, the messaging evolved into something more extreme, where traditional male contributions were increasingly portrayed as oppressive, where masculinity itself was questioned, and where the idea of needing a partner, particularly a man, was framed as weakness or regression. This evolution in thought was amplified by media, education, and policy that emphasized female independence above all else, encouraging women to view reliance on men as outdated, to celebrate singlehood as empowerment, and to seek fulfillment through career achievements and personal experiences without the constraints of family obligations. Simultaneously, men were told in subtle and overt ways that their instincts were problematic, that providing was no longer valued in the same way, that emotional expression needed to fit new molds, and that stepping into leadership roles risked accusations of control or toxicity. Over decades, this created an environment where men while felt devalued, where their efforts were scrutinized more than appreciated, and where the risks of commitment outweighed the rewards in an era of shifting legal and social landscapes. Men began to withdraw gradually, first emotionally, then practically, focusing energy inward or towards safer outlets like hobbies, friendships, and self development. And as red pill content emerged, it provided a language and framework for this withdrawal, validating experiences that many felt but could not articulate. Now, in the current landscape, that withdrawal has accelerated into a full movement, with men across age groups and backgrounds choosing purposeful solitude over compromised partnerships, building lives rich in achievement, brotherhood, and inner peace. They share stories of reclaiming time once spent on unfulfilling relationships, redirecting it toward businesses that generate passive income, toward fitness regimens that build unbreakable discipline, toward travel that expands perspectives without needing approval from anyone else. One man recounted how he used to chase validation through dating, spending weekends and resources trying to impress, only to feel empty afterward. But once he committed to solo adventures like backpacking through mountains alone or attending conferences without a plus one, he discovered a confidence that attracted genuine respect from peers and opened professional doors he never imagined. Another shared his financial turnaround, starting with basic habits like tracking every expense, learning investment basics through free online resources, and gradually building a portfolio that granted freedom, all while avoiding the financial entanglements that often complicate relationships. These personal victories multiply across communities, creating a culture where men celebrate each other's wins without jealousy, where advice flows freely on everything from mental health strategies to career advancement, and where the focus remains on controllable actions rather than external complaints. This stands in stark contrast to spaces where narratives center on systemic grievances without corresponding calls to individual action, where energy is expended on highlighting injustices but not on building tools to navigate them effectively. The result is a growing asymmetry in resilience, where one group develops anti fragility through consistent challenges and the other risks fragility through avoidance of discomfort. Women who recognize this are starting to speak out more boldly, admitting that the constant echo chamber of blame and entitlement has left them unprepared for real world demands. That skills like financial literacy, emotional regulation, and physical health were deprioritized in favor of ideological purity, and that reclaiming those skills now feels like starting from behind. One particularly insightful commentary came from a woman who analyzed popular women's podcasts and shows, pointing out how episode after episode dissects male shortcomings, celebrates revenge fantasies, or promotes lifestyles built on leveraging appearance for gain, all while rarely addressing personal accountability or long term planning. She contrasted this with men's content, which often features guests sharing failures openly, extracting lessons, and outlining step by step recoveries, fostering a mindset of continuous improvement. Her point was that exposure to one type of content breeds cynicism and stagnation, while the other breeds optimism rooted in agency, and she urged women to diversify their influences, to seek out voices that challenge rather than coddle, because true empowerment comes from capability, not perpetual outrage. This kind of self reflection is gaining traction in pockets, with women forming groups focused on fitness challenges, financial education, and skill building, mirroring the structures that have served men so well. Yet the broader trend remains: with many still immersed in environments that prioritize emotional venting over strategic growth, leading to cycles where temporary relief from sharing grievances masks the lack of progress underneath. This is evident in dating market dynamics, where complaints about the absence of committed men abound, but the conditions that would attract and retain those men are often missing, such as mutual respect, shared values, and reciprocal effort. High value men, having built options through their dedication, now evaluate potential partners with the same rigor they apply to investments or business decisions, asking whether the return matches the input, whether peace will be enhanced or disrupted, and more often than not, concluding that solitude offers better odds. They understand that relationships require vulnerability, but vulnerability without trust is folly, and trust is earned through consistent actions over time, not demanded up front. Stories from men who attempted relationships post transformation highlight this clearly. Like the entrepreneur who met a woman after achieving success only to encounter resistance when he maintained boundaries around his time and priorities, leading him to end things peacefully and return to his fulfilling single life. Or the fitness enthusiast who dated briefly but noticed subtle attempts to undermine his discipline, like suggestions to skip workouts or indulge excessively, interpreting them as threats to his progress and choosing to walk away rather than compromise. These decisions are not made lightly, but from a place of clarity, recognizing that protecting gains is wiser than risking them for uncertain compatibility. Over time, this selectivity raises the bar across the board, pressuring everyone to elevate or face isolation. But since one side has embraced elevation in mass, the pressure falls disproportionately. Economically, this plays out in striking ways too, with men dominating emerging fields like technology, cryptocurrency, and entrepreneurship, fields that reward risk taking, long hours, and self directed learning, traits cultivated through the content they consume. Women, while capable and successful in many areas, face barriers partly self imposed by cultural messaging that discourages certain paths or emphasizes work life balance prematurely, leading to gaps in wealth accumulation and financial independence. As inflation rises and job markets shift, those with diversified skills and savings thrive, while others scramble, amplifying feelings of insecurity that spill into personal lives. The state, once seen as a reliable backstop, now strains under demands it cannot sustainably meet, exposing the limits of replacing personal relationships with institutional ones. Biologically and psychologically, humans crave connection, but modern conditions have distorted how that connection forms, with apps and social media creating illusions of abundance while eroding depth. Men, having detached from seeking validation there, find richer connections in real world networks like mastermind groups or hobby communities, while many women report loneliness despite vast online circles, because superficial interactions cannot substitute for meaningful bonds. This loneliness fuels calls for men to return, but without addressing root causes, such calls fall on deaf ears as men prioritize self preservation. Looking ahead, potential paths emerge, a rebalancing where women collectively shift toward growth oriented content, closing the gap through shared elevation, or a prolonged separation where parallel societies develop, with men continuing their ascent and women navigating consequences until necessity drives change. History shows societies adapt eventually, but adaptation requires humility and effort, qualities rewarded in men's spaces but scarce elsewhere currently. Individuals can choose differently at any moment, curating feeds that inspire action, seeking mentors who demand excellence, and building lives of substance over appearance. The overarching lesson is profound. The inputs we choose dictate outputs inexorably, and in an age of infinite information, curation becomes destiny. Men have curated ruthlessly toward truth and growth, reaping peace and power, while divergent curation yields divergent results. Awareness is the first step toward alignment, and for those ready to take it, transformation awaits, just as it did for millions of men who chose to walk away from dysfunction toward purpose. This reality check serves everyone, reminding us that agency resides within, that excuses expire, and that building beats blaming every time. As more people awaken to this, regardless of background, the potential for renewed harmony exists, grounded in mutual strength rather than dependency or resentment. As we delve even deeper into the intricacies of this societal shift, it becomes clear that the choices individuals make in their daily consumption of information are not just personal preferences, but foundational building blocks that determine long term trajectories in happiness, success, and relational fulfillment. Men who have embraced the path of self improvement often describe a pivotal moment, a turning point where they decided to curate their environments ruthlessly, eliminating sources of negativity, drama, and distraction while amplifying voices that demand excellence, accountability, and relentless progress. This curation process involves unsubscribing from channels that promote complacency, muting accounts that thrive on controversy without solutions, and actively seeking out creators who share practical strategies for building wealth, health, and mental fortitude. Over months and years, this deliberate selection compounds, rewiring thought patterns from reactive to proactive, from victim minded to victor oriented, and the results manifest in every area of life, from sharper decision making in business to greater emotional stability in challenges. One common thread in these men's stories is the realization that time spent consuming low value content is time stolen from actionable growth. And once they reclaim that time, the momentum builds exponentially, creating lives that feel purposeful and controlled rather than chaotic and dependent on external circumstances. In contrast, environments heavy with content that amplifies grievances, celebrates minimal effort, or frames success as something owed rather than earned foster a different reality. One where progress stalls and frustration mounts because expectations clash with outcomes repeatedly. Women immersed in such spaces often report cycles of hope followed by disappointment, where promises of easy manifestation or societal change fail to materialize, leaving them questioning why efforts do not yield results without always connecting it back to the influences shaping their mindsets. This disconnect is particularly evident in financial realms, where men are increasingly educated on compounding interest, diversified investments, emergency funds, and entrepreneurial ventures through accessible online resources, leading to higher rates of wealth building even in entry level positions. Stories abound of men starting with modest salaries, living frugally while educating themselves on markets, side businesses, and skill monetization, gradually achieving financial independence that provides options and security. Women, on average, face wider wealth gaps partly because cultural messaging has historically downplayed these topics in favor of other priorities. But as awareness grows, more are seeking out this knowledge, recognizing that true security comes from personal capability rather than external promises. The relational implications of this divide are profound and multifaceted, touching on everything from attraction dynamics to family formation rates. High value men, defined not just by income but by discipline, emotional control, and purpose driven lives, now approach partnerships with a clear framework. Mutual growth, respect, and contribution must be present for investment to make sense. They share experiences of past relationships where imbalances led to resentment, where efforts were one sided, or where personal goals were sacrificed for harmony that proved temporary. Learning from these, they establish firm boundaries early, prioritizing compatibility and values like fitness commitment, financial responsibility, and personal development. This selectivity means many opt for extended periods of singleness, using the time to deepen skills, expand networks, and enjoy freedoms unencumbered by compromise. Travel stories highlight this beautifully, with men recounting solo trips to foreign cities, navigating language barriers, forming temporary connections based on shared interests, and returning with heightened self reliance and appreciation for their own company. These adventures build a quiet confidence that radiates, attracting opportunities without desperate pursuit. On the flip side, the dating landscape for many women has become more challenging precisely because the men most equipped to provide stability and partnership are the ones least willing to settle for dynamics that disrupt their peace. Complaints about ghosting, lack of commitment, or low effort suitors often overlook how these behaviors reflect the broader market, where undisciplined men match with environments tolerant of mediocrity, while disciplined men guard their circles carefully. This creates a sorting effect where quality concentrates in self selected groups, leaving mainstream spaces feeling depleted. Women awakening to this are beginning to advocate for change within their communities, calling for higher standards in media consumption, encouraging friends to pursue gyms over gossip sessions, and promoting accountability conversations that mirror the directness found in men's circles. These emerging voices represent hope for rebalancing, showing that shifts are possible when individuals lead by example, inspiring ripple effects through their networks. Psychologically, the benefits of solitude for men cannot be overstated, as many discover layers of personal strength previously untapped in relational contexts. Content focused on stoicism, mindfulness, and emotional mastery teaches tools for processing feelings without external venting, leading to lower anxiety, clearer thinking, and greater overall life satisfaction. Practices like daily journaling, meditation, cold exposure, and structured routines become staples, transforming potential loneliness into empowering aloneness. Men report deeper connections with family and friends because interactions are chosen freely, without obligation or underlying tension, and this freedom allows generosity without expectation. Brotherhoods form around shared pursuits like group workouts, business masterminds, or hobby clubs, providing support systems that rival or exceed traditional partnerships in fulfillment. These networks exchange value openly, with members holding each other to promises, celebrating milestones, and offering tough love when needed, creating environments where growth accelerates collectively. This contrasts sharply with dynamics where support is conditional on constant affirmation, avoiding conflict, or enabling habits that hinder progress. Over time, such environments erode resilience, making members more vulnerable to setbacks, as challenges are met with collective despair rather than strategic response. Economic downturns expose this vulnerability starkly, with those lacking internal resources struggling disproportionately, while self reliant individuals adapt and often capitalize on opportunities others miss. Men's content spaces thrive on crisis navigation stories, detailing how recessions become launch pads for new ventures, how job losses spur entrepreneurship, and how adversity forges unbreakable mindsets. These narratives inspire action, turning potential victims into architects of their futures. Culturally, the pendulum swing toward extreme individualism has revealed limits as humans remain social creatures wired for meaningful bonds. Men satisfy this need selectively through high quality interactions that add value, while avoiding drains. Women facing heightened isolation are prompting discussions on rebuilding community, but sustainable rebuilding requires addressing root toxicities like unchecked ego, refusal of feedback, and preference for delusion over growth. As more women confront these, Pathways open for genuine elevation, where fitness becomes a priority, skills are honed, finances are mastered, and mindsets shift toward abundance through effort. Examples of women making this transition inspire across divides, with stories of leaving toxic circles, committing to gyms, learning trades or investments, and experiencing similar transformations in confidence and options. These crossovers prove the principles are universal, rewarding anyone willing to apply them consistently. The key difference lies in exposure and encouragement, with men's spaces normalizing rigor while others often normalize comfort. Bridging this requires courage to challenge norms, to seek discomfort for growth, and to value truth over temporary ease. Future scenarios vary, but current trends suggest continued divergence until pain thresholds drive collective change. Some foresee a renaissance of traditional values refined by modern lessons, where partnerships form between equals who choose each other from positions of strength. Others anticipate sustained separation, with men building parallel structures of success and women navigating until adaptation occurs. Regardless, individual agency remains paramount, allowing anyone to opt into growth at any stage. This entire evolution underscores a timeless truth. Environments shape destinies, and choosing empowering ones yields empowerment. Men have chosen wisely on scale, finding peace amid chaos, and their example stands as invitation for all to follow suit. Rejecting delusion for reality, comfort for challenge, and blame for responsibility unlocks potentials previously dormant. As society processes these changes, conversations like this become vital, illuminating paths forward through honest examination. The divide is not permanent, but reflective of current choices, changeable through new ones. Embracing personal power over external narratives leads to fulfillment accessible to everyone committed to the work. Ultimately, this moment in time offers clarity unprecedented, stripping away illusions and revealing what truly builds lasting strength. Consistent action aligned with truth, supported by communities that demand the best from each member. As this cultural transformation continues to gain momentum, more men are sharing detailed accounts of how embracing solitude and self mastery has fundamentally altered their daily existence, turning what society once labeled as loneliness into a profound source of strength and contentment. These men describe waking up each morning with a clear sense of direction, free from the negotiations and compromises that often characterize shared living arrangements, allowing them to structure their days around peak productivity, personal rituals, and uninterrupted pursuit of goals. Breakfast becomes a mindful ritual paired with reading or planning. Workouts happen without scheduling conflicts. Evenings are dedicated to skill building or relaxation chosen purely for personal enjoyment. And weekends open up for spontaneous adventures or deep work sessions that propel careers forward. This level of autonomy fosters creativity and innovation as ideas flow without interruption. Decisions are made swiftly without consultation, and energy is conserved rather than expended on emotional management for others. Many highlight how financial resources stretch further when not divided, enabling investments in quality experiences, tools for growth, or assets that appreciate over time, creating a virtuous cycle where freedom breeds more freedom. This lifestyle choice is reinforced daily through content that celebrates these benefits, with creators documenting their routines, sharing productivity hacks, and demonstrating how minimalism in relationships maximizes abundance in every other area. One popular theme is the concept of energy allocation, where men learn to view their time, attention, and resources as finite currencies to be invested wisely, avoiding drains that offer poor returns. Stories of men who once poured everything into partnerships only to emerge depleted, now thriving with boundaries intact, serve as cautionary tales, turn triumphs, encouraging newcomers to prioritize self first. Brotherhood plays a key role here, with men forming tight knit groups based on shared values like discipline and ambition, gathering for hikes, strategy sessions, or accountability check ins that provide camaraderie without the complexities of romantic entanglement. These connections feel authentic because they are built on mutual upliftment, where success of one inspires all, and support is given freely without hidden agendas. Meanwhile, the challenges faced by many women in similar economic and social conditions highlight the stark differences in preparation and mindset cultivated over years. With rising costs of living pressing on everyone, those equipped with practical skills, savings habits, and multiple income sources navigate turbulence with relative ease, while others experience heightened stress from reliance on single paychecks or external aid. Women's content often focuses on coping mechanisms for these stresses through community venting or calls for systemic change, but less frequently on proactive steps like budgeting mastery, side hustle development, or investment basics that could alter trajectories independently. As a result, financial strain compounds emotional strain, leading to cycles where short term relief seeks precedence over long term solutions, perpetuating vulnerability. Awakening voices within women's spaces are challenging this by introducing topics like personal finance, resilience training, and goal setting, but adoption remains slower compared to the rapid uptake in men's communities, where such knowledge is foundational. In relational terms, this preparedness gap influences partner selection profoundly, with men increasingly valuing women who demonstrate self sufficiency, emotional maturity, and shared commitment to growth. When these qualities are present, connections form naturally, built on admiration rather than need, leading to healthier dynamics where both parties enhance each other's lives. However, scarcity of such compatibility drives many men deeper into purposeful singleness, content with occasional dating that remains light and noncommittal until exceptional alignment appears. They share strategies for maintaining this balance, like clear communication of intentions up front, focusing on fun shared activities without future projections, and swiftly exiting mismatches to preserve peace. This approach minimizes drama, maximizes enjoyment, and keeps focus on personal missions, proving that high standards protect more than they exclude. Women's experiences in the dating realm often reflect frustration with this shift, interpreting male selectivity as avoidance or immaturity without always recognizing how past cultural messaging contributed to the current landscape. Calls for men to step up ring hollow when accompanied by lingering attitudes that devalue traditional male contributions or demand provision without reciprocity. Men respond by continuing their path, understanding that engagement requires mutual incentive, and absent that, disengagement is rational. This standoff creates a feedback loop where each side reinforces its position, but underlying biology and psychology suggest eventual recalibration, as human needs for connection persist beneath ideological layers. Personal development stories from men illustrate the transformative power of consistent habits, like the individual who committed to reading daily, starting with basics on mindset and progressing to advanced topics on business and philosophy, crediting this practice with expanding his vision and decision quality. Or the one who adopted intermittent fasting and weight training, not just for physique, but for the discipline spillover into work ethic and impulse control. These habits compound, turning average men into exceptional ones over time, attracting opportunities that align with their elevated state. Content creators emphasize tracking progress, celebrating small wins, and adjusting based on results, fostering a scientific approach to self optimization that yields measurable outcomes. Contrastingly, environments prioritizing emotional expression over structured improvement often see progress plateau, with energy directed toward processing feelings rather than channeling them into action. While emotional health matters immensely, balance is key, and men's spaces achieve it by pairing introspection with execution, ensuring feelings inform but do not paralyze. Therapies and tools like journaling or coaching are utilized strategically to clear blocks, then momentum resumes. This pragmatic emotional management contributes to the calm demeanor many improved men exhibit, making them magnetic in professional and social settings. Economic empowerment through knowledge sharing is another hallmark of men's content, with tutorials on everything from stock selection to real estate basics, cryptocurrency strategies to e commerce launches, democratizing wealth building tools once gatekept. Men from diverse backgrounds share how they started with nothing but determination, learning online, applying consistently, and scaling results, inspiring global audiences to replicate. This democratization levels playing fields, allowing motivated individuals to rise regardless of starting point, and the community celebrates these rises as proof of possibility. For women beginning similar journeys, early wins like clearing debt, building emergency funds, or launching small ventures bring similar empowerment, sparking motivation for more. As these stories spread, they challenge prevailing narratives, showing that agency transcends gender when principles are applied universally. The delay in widespread adoption stems from differing cultural encouragements, but momentum builds as results become visible, drawing more participants. Socially, men's independence manifests in vibrant solo or group activities, from attending concerts alone to hosting dinner parties for friends, proving social fulfillment need not tie to romance. Confidence grows from handling situations independently, turning potential awkwardness into mastery. Travel exemplifies this, with men exploring continents solo, immersing in cultures, forming fleeting but meaningful connections, and returning enriched. These experiences build stories that captivate, networks that endure, and perspectives that inform wiser choices back home. The psychological freedom from relationship pressures allows deeper self discovery, uncovering passions suppressed in people pleasing modes, pursuing them fully without compromise. Creative outlets flourish, entrepreneurial ideas incubate, and spiritual practices deepen, leading to holistic fulfillment many describe as the best phase of life. Content reinforcing this freedom encourages men to view singleness as a feature, not a bug, to be extended until partnership undeniably adds value. As years pass, this cohort of high value men ages gracefully, with health, wealth, and wisdom compounding, positioning them for continued prosperity. Retirement looks like active pursuit of interests funded by smart planning, surrounded by chosen family and friends. This vision motivates younger men to start early, sacrificing short term pleasures for long term dominance. Women observing this from afar express mixed emotions, admiration mixed with regret, prompting introspection on paths taken. Some channel this into action, curating better influences, joining fitness communities, studying finance, and experiencing parallel uplifts. Others resist, clinging to familiar narratives, but reality's persistence eventually demands response. The broader societal impact includes declining marriage and birth rates, shifting demographics, and policy debates on incentives, but root causes tie back to individual choices aggregated. Solutions lie not in coercion, but in inspiration, showing through example that growth oriented living benefits all. This era marks a grand realignment where truth seekers thrive and illusion dwellers struggle, but illusions shatter under weight, opening doors to truth. Men leading this charge offer blueprints freely, awaiting those ready to build alongside. Ultimately, peace comes from alignment with reality, effort yields reward, and choice determines destiny. Embracing these builds empires within and without, accessible to all willing. And as the landscape of personal development and societal dynamics evolves further, an increasing number of men are documenting their journeys toward complete self sufficiency, illustrating how the deliberate choice to focus inward has unlocked levels of productivity, creativity, and inner calm that feel almost revolutionary in a world full of distractions and demands. These men often begin their days with intentional routines that set the tone for success, rising early to meditate or journal, reflecting on goals and gratitude before the outside world intrudes. Then moving into physical training that sharpens both body and mind, fueling the rest of the day with endorphins and discipline. Work sessions follow in focused blocks, free from interruptions or emotional negotiations, allowing deep concentration on projects that build empires, whether through corporate advancement, entrepreneurial ventures, or creative pursuits. Afternoons might include strategic networking or learning new skills via courses and books. Evenings wind down with hobbies that recharge without obligation. And sleep comes easily from a day well spent in alignment with personal vision. This structure, built over time through habits promoted in men's content spaces, creates a life that feels mastered rather than managed, where progress is steady and setbacks are processed quickly without external drama. Content creators in this realm emphasize the power of environment control, teaching men to design living spaces that support focus, like minimalist setups with dedicated work areas, gyms at home, or kitchens stocked for healthy meal prep, eliminating excuses and reinforcing commitment daily. They share budgeting techniques that turn modest incomes into growing wealth, advocating for tracking every expense, automating savings, and investing consistently in assets that compound quietly. Stories of men paying off substantial debt through side hustles while maintaining full time jobs inspire action, showing how sacrifice in the present yields freedom later. Travel fits seamlessly into this lifestyle, with men planning trips around personal growth, visiting places that challenge comfort zones, learning languages on the go, or attending seminars abroad, all funded by the financial discipline cultivated over years. These experiences broaden horizons, build unshakable confidence, and create memories richer than any shared vacation compromised by differing priorities. Brotherhood remains a cornerstone, with men investing in relationships that uplift without draining, gathering regularly for discussions on books, markets, fitness challenges, or life strategies, holding each other accountable in ways that propel everyone forward. These groups form organically online and offline, bonded by shared commitment to excellence, offering support during tough times and celebration during wins, proving that deep connection thrives without romantic ties. Many men describe these bonds as the healthiest they've experienced, free from jealousy or competition, rooted instead in abundance mindsets where one's success elevates the group. This contrasts with dynamics often seen elsewhere, where relationships hinge on constant emotional labor or validation, leading to exhaustion over empowerment. On the economic front, men's proactive education and wealth building continues to widen advantages, with communities sharing real time insights on market trends, tax strategies, real estate opportunities, and business scaling, enabling members to capitalize swiftly. From learning cryptocurrency basics to understanding stock options or launching online stores, the knowledge flows freely, democratizing tools that build generational wealth. Men from humble beginnings share how starting with free resources led to six-figure incomes, emphasizing consistency over genius, effort over entitlement. This financial literacy buffers against uncertainties, allowing calm navigation of inflation, job shifts, or global events, while others without such preparation face amplified hardships. Women's journeys, when they pivot towards similar principles, yield comparable rewards, with stories emerging of transformations through fitness commitments, financial overhauls, and mindset shifts, leading to greater independence and attraction of higher quality connections. These women often credit discovering men's content or crossover creators for the wake up call, realizing that universal laws of success apply regardless of gender. Challenges arise in social circles resistant to change, where pursuing excellence invites criticism or isolation, but perseverance builds new networks aligned with growth. As these examples multiply, they challenge outdated narratives, showing empowerment through action over ideology. Dating evolves accordingly, with high value individuals from both sides seeking partners who match energy, creating pairings based on mutual inspiration rather than need fulfillment. Men report that when compatibility aligns, relationships enhance rather than detract. But until then, singleness remains preferable, rich with personal riches. Strategies for casual dating emphasize respect, clear boundaries, and enjoyment without pressure, preserving peace while exploring. This maturity stems from self work, understanding attraction flows from wholeness, not desperation. Psychologically, the emphasis on Stoic principles helps men process emotions constructively using tools like breath work, exposure therapy, or cognitive reframing to maintain equilibrium amid chaos. Content teaches viewing challenges as growth opportunities, fostering resilience that radiates outwardly. Sleep optimization, nutrition precision, and recovery practices ensure sustained high performance, turning bodies into optimized machines. Mental clarity translates to sharper intuition in decisions from investments to interactions. Socially, men embrace experiences once deferred, attending events solo, dining at fine restaurants alone, or pursuing passions publicly, normalizing independence and attracting like minded people naturally. Confidence from competence draws admiration, opening doors organically. Creativity flourishes in quiet spaces, with many launching podcasts, writing books, or building brands from personal evolution stories. As cohorts age, health investments pay dividends, with men in their 40s and beyond boasting vitality that defies norms, active in sports, adventures, and mentorship. Wealth compounds, providing options for philanthropy, legacy building, or early retirement into purposeful pursuits. Younger generations observe and emulate, accelerating the movement. Women navigating similar paths report renewed vitality, financial control, and relational options, often expressing relief at shedding limiting beliefs. Community building around these principles grows, fostering supportive environments that encourage excellence. Societally, shifts prompt reflections on balance, where individualism serves until connection calls from strength. Policies and cultures adapt slowly, but individual changes drive real progress. And this paradigm offers liberation through responsibility, proving peace resides in self mastery. Men embodying this lead quietly, their lives, the message. Future holds potential for harmony when growth becomes shared pursuit. But until then, paths diverge productively. Choice remains, align with reality's demands, or resist until adaptation forces it. Rewards favor the aligned. This discussion illuminates paths, inviting examination of own influences and habits. Embracing truth builds unbreakable foundations, accessible always. To expand fully on the implications of these ongoing changes, consider how the accumulation of small daily decisions creates vast differences over decades, where men consistently choosing growth oriented inputs build lives of compounding advantages, while divergent choices lead to compounding challenges. Habits like daily exercise, even when motivation lags, build not just muscle, but willpower that transfers to career persistence or financial restraint. Reading challenging material expands thinking, leading to innovative solutions others miss. Networking with ambitious people elevates standards, pulling one upward through association. These micro choices, reinforced by content that glorifies discipline, create macro outcomes of freedom and fulfillment. Financially, the discipline extends to delayed gratification, where men forego immediate pleasures for investments that grow silently, achieving milestones like home ownership, debt freedom, or passive income streams that grant choices. Communities share pitfalls avoided, like lifestyle inflation or poor partnerships that derail progress, teaching vigilance in all areas. Relationally, wisdom gained prevents repeating past mistakes, with clear red flags identified early, saving years of potential regret. Peace becomes non negotiable, guarded fiercely. Women's parallel adoptions show identical mechanics, with discipline yielding strength, knowledge yielding security, effort yielding options. This universality underscores that principles transcend demographics, rewarding application universally. As awareness spreads, more crossover, building bridges through shared success. Society benefits from elevated individuals driving innovation, stability, and progress. This era's lesson: curate wisely, act consistently, reap abundantly. Men pioneering this demonstrate possibility, inviting all to join. Peace through purpose, strength through struggle, fulfillment through focus. Choices today shape tomorrow's inescapably. Align accordingly for best outcomes. Discussions like these catalyze awareness, prompting positive shifts. Grateful for engagement. Continue the conversation below. What did you think about what was discussed today? Do you agree with these observations or do you see things differently? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts honestly, because this conversation matters and your perspective could help someone else see things clear. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MMWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.